actually many reasons why I'm living in a foreign country. But even if you don't love to travel and love just being in a foreign country and learning a new language and all these experiences, there are two main things that anyone can benefit a lot from living in a foreign country. You can pretty much just hack your life. So one thing is you can just hack your finances. You can be way cheaper to live in a foreign country, and you can live in like kind of luxury and have better weather, and you can live near a beach or in this a very beautiful city if you want to for much cheaper than the US. Another thing is you can just hack and like skyrocket your dating life. Two of the main reasons that I'm here. I'll get to those in a minute, but some other reasons, like I love to travel. I love the adventure. I love going into the unknown. Like one time, very exciting just highlight of my life was when I decided to move from. I grew up in New York. I'd been there my whole life. I'd barely traveled. I just moved into San Francisco on the West Coast when I was 18. It was super exciting. Just very beneficial thing that I did in my life. One of my favorite memories was traveling to Hawaii. Actually, me and my friend traveled there. We kind of didn't really have any plans. We didn't book a hotel or rental car or anything. Actually, when we landed on the plane and started looking for rental cars, they were all booked out. We went to the Big Island, by the way, which is not a very touristy island. It's much bigger than the other islands. There's much more to explore. The rental cars were all booked out. My friend got this idea to go onto Craigslist and look at cars that were for sale. He found this beat up old Jeep Cherokee that these people were selling for $400. He called them up. The people came in a car. They were these native Hawaiians, like total native Hawaiians, kind of like, and they picked us up at the airport in their car. The dude was drinking a beer in his car. He was driving. It was a couple. They took us to their house. They offered us beer. I think we were all drinking in the car when we went over there. I wouldn't recommend doing this, by the way, drinking and driving. I actually don't even like to drink at all anymore, but it's just a funny part of the story. We went over there. They were totally, it's like the typical like white trash sort of like situation. Like they kind of had like a trailer, a small type of house with all these beat up cars and crap in their yard. But the people were super friendly. We loved them. And they told us that the Jeep Cherokee by the way, it was a two-door Jeep Cherokee, which I don't think those are even available in the mainland in the US. I'd never seen one before. But I love these old Jeep Cherokees, these 90s ones. My mom had one of those when I was growing up. There's also a stick shift Cherokee, which we wouldn't have been able to get that as a rental car. And me and my friend liked driving the stick shift much more. It was all beat up. It needed like new tires and a battery. So the first thing was they continued in their car. We went over to Walmart and I agreed to buy the tires and the battery. And then they let me rent out the car for 10 days or whatever. We were staying there. It was about a week or 10, I think it was 10 days, for about $200. And then for them, it was a win for them because they got new battery and tires for the car, so the car was worth more. It was a win for us. It was much cheaper way cheaper than a rental car would have been. And we looked like locals driving around in that car, which was really cool. Like people thought that we lived there driving that thing. It was funny. It was all beat up. Like the passenger door, you couldn't open it from the inside. I think you couldn't open it at all. Actually, you had to either crawl out the window or crawl through the car and go out through the other one. And what we did is we traveled around the whole island. We slowly kind of drove around the whole island throughout the time we had there and just slept in the car on random beaches. There was one night that we slept in a different couple's house that was we actually met them at the airport and we landed, and they were another couple from California. I think we started talking because they had actually brought some medical marijuana from California to Hawaii, and we were talking about that. And then they had rented like a 2-bedroom house in one part of the island. And actually when we got their contact info, and when we traveling around the island, when we made it to around the area where they were, we hit them up and they let us crash in their apartment for one night, which was super cool. Like we were able to use their shower and sleep in like a normal bed for that one night, which was really nice. But I don't know, I just got way off track there, but this story is just one of the reasons why I love traveling, love living in a foreign country. Learning a new language too is a huge part. I'd started learning Spanish for a while, and now I've been living here for 3 months, and my Spanish has just improved like crazy. Once you get to a decent level in your language, so like you can have super basic conversations, just by living in an area where you have to use it all the time and immersing yourself in it, like you will improve so much without even trying at all. If you don't really know much of the language, you kind of suck, and you move to a foreign country, it's not going to be like that. Like, you're not just going to learn just by moving there. But if you're like pretty good at the language already, you'll learn without even trying, and you will just, like, your progress will just skyrocket, like, without even trying. It's pretty insane. And let me get into just the cost of living and the dating. Well, probably the number one reason I moved actually was just because of the dating. Dating is just a very important aspect of my life to me. If you live in the U.S. and you're like a white dude, or probably almost anyone in the U.S., like, being a white dude though, especially here in the Dominican Republic, like, the people are very dark skinned here. There's a lot of black people. Like, being a white person here, you are like, you look so exotic. You look like some type of celebrity or something being here as well. Like, you look crazy exotic. Like, in the US, dating apps like Tinder, they don't really work it for me at all. Like, I could put a ton of work and time into them, which I have, and get, like, one date every 2 or 3 months or something. Like, it's horrible. Here, it's still a lot of work, but it's much easier. Like, I can get girls that look like models and go on dates with them here. It is so much easier. And no matter who you are, there's going to be some country that you can go to, because the thing is, in the US, there's, like, you go to a major city, there's so much diversity. There are people from all over the world. Like, no matter what you look like, if you're in like New York City or San Francisco, you don't really look that exotic. There's people from all over the place. Especially me in the US, like, and I'm pretty good looking, but in the US I kind of just look like everyone else. Here I look so exotic, but no matter who you are, there's going to be places, countries you can go to and places you go to where you just look extremely exotic. And even if you don't look exotic, like, you're going to sound exotic when you talk, right? You're going to have a sexy accent. Your clothing is going to look different. You're just going to look different. Like, even if you're like a African American, a black dude coming to the US, you're still just going to look exotic and different just because of your style and your clothing and everything. And obviously you're going to sound different. You're going to have an accent when you talk. But, like, really, no matter what you look like, you can go somewhere in the world where dating is just going to be much easier for you. You're going to be able to get, like, just more, like, guy or girl, you're going to be able to get more attractive people than you could in the US or wherever you live in your home country. You're just going to be able to get more attractive people easier because you're just going to look and sound exotic. And also, probably, if you're like me, when you're traveling, you're just going to be in a better mood, and you're probably going to be more open to meeting strangers, which just makes your, just kind of hacks your dating life too. If you're in a better mood and you're socializing more than you normally would, it's going to be easier to just to meet people. And then the expenses, oh my God, you can save so much money by moving to a different country. Like, Dominican Republic it's in the Caribbean, but I'm just going to call it Latin America. It's actually a kind of expensive place for Latin America, especially in the city of Santo Domingo where I am. If you go to, like, I think I might move to Medellin in like 2 months, it is much cheaper there. Also, if you go to like the Philippines or many countries in Asia are much cheaper than here. Like, you can live in like nice places too. You can live much more luxuriously. You can live like on the beach for way cheaper than you could in the US. You could be living in some shitty town in the US that is cheap for the US, move to a different country and still be much cheaper. Like, you can live, even being a couple, like 2 people, you could live off of a budget of $1,000 a month easily and live like right near the beach in many places in the world. All you need is like either savings or just some type of way to work remotely, or both. Like right now, I'm living like a retired person here. I had a bunch of savings or a bunch of money that I was able to develop from my last business, and I have that now. And I'm just working and starting an online business now, and it's just, I live like a retired person here. I'm just super relaxed. My life is so much better doing this. And another thing is, like, once you travel and start living and leave the US, you can if you travel to like Mexico, for example, you can travel to another city in Mexico very, very cheaply. You could take like a bus for probably dirt cheap, or you could buy another flight for like $100 and just hop around to different countries and different cities like that. Or like Europe. In Europe, the train system is very, very cheap and economical. You can travel from country to country for very, very cheap on a budget. Oh, there was one thing I was going to say that I totally spaced on. Another thing, a key thing to sort of hack your expenses. If you're traveling in Airbnbs, stay in each location you go to for at least a month, because once you rent an Airbnb for a month at a time or more, you get like substantial discounts on a lot of the Airbnb properties. They give massive discounts if you rent them for at least a month. So that's what I'd recommend doing, is just if you want to travel a lot, live in like different countries and cities for a month at a time and look for these like sort of economical Airbnbs. You can get very, very cheap, very nice places to stay.